Hey everybody, it's day 19 of the 100 to 2020 challenge. And part of doing this challenge for me was to explore new formats, try new things. So yesterday I recorded our very first interview with my friend Nicole Smith, great human being and wonderful friend who's a life coach and a very good friend of mine. And as I'm learning, I learned there's a different way to record videos or video calls on Zoom. So when I wanted the two side-by-side interview thing that you see quite often on here, I decided, or I messed up, and it's just her. So you get to see most of her face, or all of her face, in a conversation between us. Hope you enjoy it. I will see you at the end of the video. And without further ado, here's Nicole. Welcome to the first interview, or the feature of the 100 to 2020 series. I'm happy to host my friend Nicole Smith. She's a Dallas-based life coach. Her focus is on high-performing individuals. We met through the University of Michigan Ross School of Business Alumni Network. We hosted an event here in LA where she was a guest speaker. She's got a great background in sports marketing, and she's just a wonderful human being. I've learned a lot from her throughout this journey and beyond. So wanted to spend some time talking to Nicole today about how she's gotten here to becoming a life coach, focusing on high performance individuals, or high achieving individuals rather. And I sent her a copy of my favorite book, The Go-Giver, a few weeks ago. And look at all those tabs. So I want to get her thoughts on it. So Nicole, why don't you start and share with us a little bit about how you ended up becoming a life coach and how life has brought you this way.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's like a privilege to be the first feature on this 100 days journey. I feel special. So yes, I am now a life coach focusing on high achieving professionals, helping them find new levels of success and really defining the next level of success. So I was, or still am, a high achieving professional, grabbing at all the brass rings, one accomplishment after the other. When I was at the apex of my accomplishments, or what I felt was the apex of my professional accomplishments, I was miserable. It was really hard. I was stressed out. My health was declining. I don't think I was a good friend. I wasn't good in my relationships, but I was achieving. And so you just get to a point, I think you kind of are feeling this, or maybe other people are feeling it, where you're like, what is my next goal? What am I supposed to do next? And what does that look like? And so life was kind to me, and I was able to walk away from the job that was draining the life out of me and take some time to really figure that out. And to be honest, it took a while to get rid of some bad habits, to get rid of the idea that in order to be successful or in order to be worthy, I had to be this corporate drone, so to speak. I had lost pieces of myself, lost my real joy, what I was interested in. And lucky for me, I was able to find it. And surprisingly, I found it in coaching, which is not what I expected at all. Ever since I was a little kid, I used to play office. Like I knew I was going to be in an office. So it's different for me now being at my home office. But what I do is I listen and support people who are in transition. Maybe you are burnt out. Maybe you are stressed out. Maybe you don't know what the next accomplishment is. And so I work with them to figure that out so that they can work on, this is how I like to put it, so that you can work on more of who you want to be and have that be less dependent on what you do.
I think that's wonderful. I think a thing that you and I share is we love giving. I think we resonated and we clicked right off the bat for that reason. So after our first conversation, one of the first things that I wanted to do was to share the book with you. What did you like about it? Did you like it? What are some things that stood out to you the most? Share with us a little bit about your thoughts on The Go-Giver.
Okay, so I love this book. And we talked about the tabs. This is my new thing. I highlight and tab so I can go back to it. Don't worry, I'm not going to go through all of these tabs. But one of the things I really loved about this book is just the essence of the fact that, and this is something I had to learn, it was a very pivotal moment for me in my personal development journey, is that you think what you need to be successful, you think what you need to get that big account to achieve is something external. And so you go after all these external things to get your goal, when the truth is everything you needed was internal. And it started inside, and it started with your mindset, and it started about how you're thinking and approaching these problems, not so much the people around you. And when you start from within, it then permeates out. And if you work on being of service and of giving, it comes back to you so much more, like the flow is so much easier than when you're trying to push to get people to do the things you want them to do.
Sure. I think one of the things that is a common pushback to the giving mindset or always give is I can't afford to, or it would be nice if I had the luxury to give, but I can't now because I have bills or kids or grad school debt, which all three apply to me. You know,
Yeah.
what do you say to somebody like that thinks that giving is a luxury for somebody who can?
Oh, wow. That's an excellent question. What popped into my head right away is something that Adam Grant said. And it is that giving isn't, well, I'm going to say it not as well as he did, but the premise is, the overall premise is that giving isn't being selfless. Like giving isn't giving everything you have or whatever it is, but it's helping someone just for the sake of, that's the end of it. The end of it is just that you're helping, right? And you don't have to give everything you have. Giving's not about money.
Right.
Giving's not about assets, right? You can give your time, you can give your knowledge. And I would challenge people to say that you can't afford not to give, because that's how this whole thing works. When someone's giving, someone has the pleasure of receiving, then they're equipped more to give to the next person.
Right.
So when you're not giving, you're disrupting the cycle.
Right.
So think about all the times that you've been poured into, when someone has done something for you that they didn't have to do, or there was information shared, and would you want to be cut off from that cycle? And would you have the success or anything that you do have that you're clinging to so tightly if someone didn't give to you? So I would think about it that way. And if you think about it that way, you can't afford not to give, because none of us can afford to be cut off from the cycle.
Sure. And I think something I shared earlier in the week was a lot of young people don't feel like they're at a position to give because they're not there yet. They're not successful yet. You and I are both involved in various ways with our alumni groups. And I see that a lot, where somebody who just recently graduated says, I'm not successful enough. I don't, who am I to serve or give? And I think it's just the looking in the mirror and looking back 3 to 5 years of your life and wondering, hey, do I know more than I did back then? And do I have the ability to give myself 5 years ago any bit of advice that would have helped? And the answer is, of course, going to be yes, because that's life. And if you apply that to, and of course, there are millions of people that are 5 years younger than you that are stressing about high school, college, jobs, relationships, anything. So yeah, I think the giving mindset is something that a lot of us trick ourselves or excuse ourselves into not doing for a various number of reasons. But for me, this book was a very good reminder that of course it's a parable and it's a fictional story, so everything has a happy ending. But I think it's also, your future is what you make of it. So if you work towards that, good things will happen. And whatever higher power you believe in, things do happen, and you have to see that there is perhaps a different meaning or a different end game there. So any final thoughts you want to leave to, I would say thousands, but I think it's in the hundreds now, hopefully, or maybe even in the teens, of my and your LinkedIn friends and YouTube friends that are watching this video?
Yeah, well, even if it's one person, right? Because I think that's one of the things that we have to get over ourselves, is that these big numbers and big audiences are great, but if you can impact one person, like, you've done something special. And I know that you've impacted me, so I'm happy to be your one person. But what I would say about the book is definitely read it. And I would encourage people who have read it before to read it again, because I know that if I had read this book 5 years ago, I would have a different takeaway than as I'm reading it now. And I think this is one of those stories and one of those books that's timeless, and it will meet you where you are. And you'll see different things in the story based on where you are in life. Because for me, I felt like the first few chapters were definitely confirmation of things that I've learned throughout my career.
Right.
But the last chapter was like, whoa.
Right.
And not to be a spoiler alert, but the idea of being open to receiving was a huge takeaway for me from this book. And, that being open to receiving is an important part of the giving cycle.
Well, sure. It's literally the opposite side of the equilibrium. So if you want to give, somebody has to receive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then on final note, what are you excited for the final 82 days of 2019?
Oh my gosh, there's only 82 now?
That's crazy. 82 for the whole decade.
Well, you know what? I am looking forward to finishing strong. I mean, 82 days is a lot of time to have an impact and to find people that I can share with. I'm going to continue to work on being open to receiving so that, when you get that compliment or when you get someone offers you an opportunity, that you're open to saying yes. And I will say this, that since I have consciously been open to receiving and practicing what I learned in this book, there have been more opportunities. So I don't know. I'm not saying it was the book.
And that's just in 2 weeks. So imagine what we can do for a lifetime.
82 days.
Yep. Well, Nicole, I want to thank you for making time for us. Hope for those of you watching, you've enjoyed this new video interview format. And so if you have any questions for Nicole, you can contact her directly, or I'd be happy to make an introduction. So have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you later. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you.
All right, so that was our very first interview with Nicole on the 100 to 2020 challenge. Hope you got some value out of it. I enjoy speaking to her. Brings me a lot of energy and perspective. So, if you have anybody else in your life that you'd like me to feature or interview on the channel here, or if you want to come on, shoot me a note. Let's make it happen. Enjoy the great weekend ahead, and I will see you tomorrow on Saturday. Bye.